Hello everyone. Today is Sunday Selfie time and I will be experimenting with watercolors. That's me, experimenting. So the first thing I'm going to do is try using a dry pencil on wet. So basically all I'm doing is scribbling in this little box, and I divided it up into several different sections, and I'll just play in each little box. So now I'm playing. And I'm adding water to it just to see what would happen. And I've been watching all kinds of YouTube videos, and I figured I should try this and experiment and see if there's a technique or something with the watercolors that I like a lot. And what I like about this one is, even though when you scribble in there with your pencil and it has pencil marks, it actually washes away the marks once you start putting water onto it, which is pretty cool. This one's the opposite. I wet it first, so it's wet on dry. I guess you can call it that. I do not know the technical terms. I just know I'm having fun here. I'm in kindergarten. And anyway, that looks pretty cool too. And you can still see some of the pencil marks through the water, doing it the opposite. So in this test, I'm putting a couple colors on a brush and seeing what would happen. And as long as the two colors are side by side, and the brush is wet, the paper was dry, it doesn't run so much. It really stays where it is, which I was really surprised about. So basically there I put some water down on the paper, and I'm using sandpaper and brushing the pencil onto it. And it's kind of creating speckles, like little spots, and it looks really cool, like a speckled egg. So far that's my favorite technique. I like that one the most. And I thought I'd try to see if I could use a stamp and watercoloring. And so the pencil's a little dry. I might have dipped it in the water a little bit just to activate the paint. And I just want to see if I could actually use watercolor, because I have all these pretty colors. It would be neat if I could stamp with it. And it stamps okay. It's not great. It's not as defined as when I use ink, but it could probably be done with practice. Maybe I need a little bit more practice with the stamp to get it more defined, or perhaps the mixed colors. I don't know. So this I'm just scribbling and playing and mixing up both the water and dry and just seeing what happens. And the pencils are, I don't want to say they're hard, but when you do draw on there, you can make marks. Like I scribbled in bunch of little dots, and I wondered if I colored it in dark, could I then go over it in water and have it all blend together. But then I kind of went crazy with the sandpaper one because I liked that one the most. Anyway, now I'm drawing, of course. I'm trying it out. I just took a cork, drew some circles, just taking different objects that are close by me on my desk. This one was very spur of the moment. I didn't know what I was going to do exactly when I sat down with the watercolors. I knew I would use the sandpaper and, wet on dry, but from then on it's kind of just playing with everything. And this was neat because the paper was dry and I'm using the paintbrush just to go over everything, kind of a wet on dry. And so I liked it because you could still see the pencil mark through scribbling, through the paint. And I do scribble, I can't draw, so I can trace anything. So anyway, this is my big drawing of the day. And I went and I put a little green splotch there in the next box because I was wondering if I could use it like a palette. I saw someone do that on YouTube and I thought it was really cool. You do have to put enough of the pencil or watercolor pencil on the spot so you have something to activate the water and use it to paint with. And it does work. You can make a palette of different colors and use that as your palette. But I decided to smudge it instead. And it's really neat because the watercolors just flow. I don't think watercolors are as forgiving as maybe using oils, because you make a mistake. I think with oil, it's oil paint, it's much easier to go back, at least for me, to fix something. I suppose if I knew more about watercoloring, it would probably be easy too. But I don't know. I like watercolors. They're bright. At least these are very pastel. And I kept wondering, what can I do with them? Someone gave them to me as a gift, um, and I know my husband is giving me some, and I just don't know what to do with them. So I figure this can be one of my experiments, and I can figure it out. But so far, I really like the scribbling, like drawing something or tracing something, and then going over it with the watercoloring. And the speckles, using the sandpaper and just putting it all over the cardstock. I like that one a lot. And I think I got really curious to see how far could I make something go, and could I stamp with it again. But when I put the paint down, how much could I really thin it out and make it go across the page? Um, when I use oil paint, I mean, it runs everywhere. It's thick, it's oily, or you can thicken it up too. But um, the watercoloring paint is so different. It doesn't, it's not moving for me, or I just don't know that technique yet. But I know I'll experiment with it again because it's fun. I feel um, like finger painting or something with it. They're such nice bright colors. But it's interesting when you do use watercolor and you just use just a little bit of water, it does move it about a lot. Like that little bit of red watercoloring paint, it'll smudge across the page a little, like I'm doing now. So I think that's pretty cool. And you can make it either a dark or light. It doesn't have to be like pastel. You can mix colors. It's pretty cool. It's fun to play with. But here I am back with the sandpaper. You know it's my favorite. And what I found when I did this one is after you put the little specks down, if you take a dry brush because it's wet, and then you put the specks down and it's of course they're wet, the dry brush, when you smudge it across, it makes these really neat lines and waves going across your page. And this is me just scribbling and playing and seeing what I can do with different colors. It's kind of how I drew when I was in kindergarten, I would say. Nothing much has changed. I still draw the same way I did in kindergarten. That's really sad. I can only make stick people. Anyway, so this Sunday selfie was a lot of fun, I have to say. I enjoyed playing with the watercolors. I kind of get carried away sometimes when I like something, like the specs, and I like the drawing. And I think I'd really like to take a page one day and draw all over it. I'll probably trace all over it with something, different objects, and then paint them in and use that as a background. And one of the things I was thinking, it would be neat to do it with one of my daughter's like pictures when she's playing with toys. And if there's a way to kind of draw the toys with watercolor in the background of the page, and then go over it with the watercolor paintbrush, just the lines, and let the pencil show like it's doing here. Not where I'm at now, but above where I sketched, sort of. But all sorts of things started running through my head. Anyway, I'm trying to take a picture of myself each week, and my selfie printer ink ran out. So this one was actually, I printed out on a regular printer. And here I go. I'm going to the sandpaper. I really like this one. This was fun. It's just so neat. And I don't know how well it shows up to you on camera, but I just like this. It's kind of like if you're using Heidi Swapp Color Shine and you sprinkle it on a page and it's really easy like to go crazy with it. At least for me it is. That's what the specs are like. So I want to make it sure it's dry, because at first I thought I would leave the washi tape there. But then I thought, no, let's take it up and see what happens. And the washi tape actually worked out really well to divide the page, and the paint didn't run through it or anything like that. Nice clean lines. And I actually used the right kind of paper this time. I had to put a couple sheets together to get the size that I wanted, but it actually worked. So this is more about, the Sunday Selfie is more about me experimenting with different techniques and products or whatever it is I feel like doing that day. And it's not something that's going into my scrapbook. It's going into a notebook, my Sunday Selfie notebook. There are 8.5 by 11, the sheets. I usually work with 12 by 12 when I scrapbook. I've only had one page that I did with the Sunday Selfie that I made 12 by 12, and I decided to put it in my All About Me scrapbook because I couldn't cut the paper. I just couldn't cut that. I did painting on that one, and I liked it so much. I just couldn't trim it down to size. So, but I'm supposed to put them in my Sunday Selfie notebook, and that is where this is going. And I'm just writing different sayings on it, silly stuff. You'll be able to see it when I give you a closer look. But anyway, I want to thank you as always for joining me. Experiment too. Try experimenting. Let me know how you do it, what happens. Maybe send me a challenge or two of things that I could try out that you might not want to mess up your table with. I worked with glitter the other day, so I'm going to be cleaning glitter till after Christmas. Anyway, again, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for stopping by and letting me burn your ears off. You have an awesome day, and happy scrapbooking, happy experimenting, and see you next time.